What's going on, Commanders fans? Welcome back. It's a beautiful day in the month of July, halfway through the year. Can you believe it? We are so much closer to training camp, so much closer to football. But you're here with another episode of the Believe in Commander show. Brian Murphy is down there in Atlanta, Georgia, where it's hot. Oh Lord, that's a lyric right there. I
Mhm.
got to go back and check my Outcast. Brian, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I still can't believe we are in July, which means this is the last month without football games. Obviously, the preseason starts in August, so we are right around the corner. It's hot and steamy here in Atlanta. It's gross. It rains half the time, so I'm just ready to talk some football, get my mind off of how hot outside it is. But yeah, I'm good. How are you doing?
Man, I am good. I'm in a great mood. I got some coffee right here. Got a little workout this morning. One of my sons, Theo, he got up early, and he got a little workout in the
Nice.
garage with me. So I was like, all right, man, if you gonna move, I'm gonna move. And we were doing crunches back and forth. He kept picking the number. That little sucker kept doubling and doubling and doubling. And I was like, dude, we got to go inside, man. I don't want to do any more crunches. So we were way up there, but it was a good workout this morning. I'm feeling good. And I know starting out that way gets my day going. I would feel lucky enough to go and try to put down a wager on something, especially with my Texas Rangers doing so good.
Yeah, they
Yes,
are
indeed. But
hot.
hey, I know where you could place a bet. You can do it at Bet Online. But Brian's going to tell you about Bet Online. So let the good people know about our sponsor.
That's right. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs, whether it's baseball, like Anthony said, boxing, golf, or more. There's still sports going on this summer, and obviously you can play some futures for NFL and college football. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. So head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your very first deposit, and Bet Online where the game starts. So go lay down over Commanders wins at 6.5. Go lay down some baseball, pick'ems, all kinds of stuff. You can find it right there at Bet Online. We love those guys and appreciate them.
Yes, Lord. They are a wonderful sponsor, very loyal. I appreciate them for sure. I know I took that over. I took the over many moons ago because I feel like this team is going to be in that right trajectory. But
Me
um,
too.
this episode, folks, we're going to be talking about just an offensive focus. If you listen to our last episode, we caught up with Adam and Eva with the Burgundy and Gold report, and we talked defense. He initially really just kind of talked about that secondary and what's going on with the safety. So if you're wondering what's up with Cam Curl and Percy Butler and how those guys are going to fit in, go ahead and pop back one episode and give that one a listen, or just finish this and then go back over there. But looking at the offensive side, we're going to just take a look at the different position groups as a whole and then ask a few questions, just kind of see what our expectations are individually. And, whenever they start running some player futures on Bet Online, you may consider this information is what's going to help you maybe make a bet. I don't know. That's your choice, your call. Do what you need to do. But, let's take a look at the offense. What are we going to expect? Brian, where do you think we should start with this whole shebang?
Well, obviously, we can take a look at the position group. I think we both want to start with the big guys up front, but you can't talk about the offense without probably the most important piece of it or acquisition, and it has to do with nobody on the field, and it's Eric Bieniemy. So I think that he is kind of a wild card. We know what he can do in Kansas City. It's a big year for him. It's a big year for the Commanders. And I think it meshes well for an exciting offense. I think he's going to cook something up. I think he's got some guys that are available to him, and I'm excited to see what they do. I think overall they perform a little bit better than we've seen over the last couple of years. But I'm excited to see what EB brings to the plate, brings to the table, and I want to make sure we mention him because I think he's the most important part of all this.
Man, look, that is a great point, and I did not even think about it. And once you started, speaking, I was like, "Ooh, yeah." And then you said, and I was like, "Yep, that is a great one." Eric Bieniemy is like whenever you have a potluck and it's Thanksgiving dinner, and everybody has brought something, and you walking through, and you look like, "Hey, who made the potato salad?" And then you find out it was EB, and you like, EB made that? Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
let me get more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
EB is gonna bring something to the table. So that is a very, very good one. Shoot, man. The expectations are high for EB. And I
Mm-hmm.
was actually thinking about this in the car. So I'm glad you brought this up. I think that this is actually a perfect situation for him. Even positionally, even though everybody's saying it's a lateral move, I think it's a slight promotion because he's getting to be essentially the head coach of the offense.
Yeah.
He's showing, what he's going to put on this team in an identity, his expectation, the accountability. He's putting this out there right now. And you have to assume that, as the Josh Harris group, as they prepare to take over, and that's going to happen, the vote should happen probably July 20th.
Yep.
They're going to be paying attention to how this team responds to Eric Bieniemy. Not just the team, the offense won, but the team as a whole. Because I'm telling you, there's certain coaches on staffs that can rally the guys. A lot of times they're special teams coaches because they work with the most players. But there's some offensive coaches that defensive players will lean to, and vice versa. But I think this is a great position for Eric Bieniemy because he gets to focus solely on doing this offense and showing how he would lead this thing. Yeah. He's going to be able to understand what type of defensive staff he wants to have. He don't have to worry about that stuff. To go from offensive coordinator to head coach, it may be more of a setup to fail. Right? Now, if you look at it, hey, you're going from, yes, you're leaving, you're underneath Andy Reid, but now you're running your own show.
Yep.
This may be the perfect transition for him, and it shouldn't be difficult if they have success. And if these guys that we talk about today have a success and he gets these guys to play well, you can understand, okay, go ahead and make him the head coach, and we'll have a plan for what we want to do on the defensive side of the ball. So I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad you brought that up. See, that's chemistry, y'all. You
that's
hear
right.
that?
Yeah.
That is chemistry.
What I do is I just throw it near the rim, and I know you'll be there to just slam it home. So I just lob up the ideas, and you just bring it down.
He ain't wrong. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I'm excited to see what he comes up with. I think it's going to be very creative, and I think we're going to see some big games from the offense. Or maybe this is the homer in me. I'm hoping we see some big games from the offense where it's felt like for the last, Ron Rivera's tenure, we know he's a defensive guy, but it feels like even before then it's always been maybe the last 7-8 years it's been the defense that has really carried this team, except for, since Kirk Cousins really kind of put up some big numbers. So I'm excited to see the offense really get it going, and I think Eric Bieniemy is the guy. I think it's the perfect situation for him, and I'm excited about it. And I think this is a group that we have kind of talked about a lot, and we're both kind of uncertain about, but the offensive line is probably a good place to start. And what are you thinking on the offensive line and with these big ugly guys up front?
The offensive line is going to have to benefit from as many reps together as possible. It's kind of like the defensive secondary, how we were saying, what group of 4 or 5 guys are you going to try to run out there on a consistent basis? You got to have that same exact thought when you look at the offensive line. When you're looking at, you brought in Nick Gates. You have Ricky Stromberg, Tyler Larson's already there. You're looking at Charles Leno. You've got Sadiq Charles is making moves. You got the young fella out of Tulsa is there. Andrew Wiley is in. Cosme. There's so many players that. And shoot, I forgot the other young rookie, the young guard. So I apologize.
Braden Daniels, yeah.
Braden Daniels. There you go. So you have a lot of pieces, and obviously you don't expect all of them to start. But what mix are you going to come up with? It's going to be important to see and pay attention to in training camp, and see if the work that happened and the growth that happened in OTAs and the mini camp, if that carries over into training camp. You don't want to see a lot of so you don't want to go 2 steps forward and then a couple steps back to try to get your footing again. So they need to get reps together, whatever 5 they go with.
Yeah. I think I said that's kind of the group I'm probably most nervous about, and I guess we'll see kind of how it all shakes out as we get into training camp, and what the formation is, like you said, with different guys plugging in and out. But I have to think that Eric Bieniemy kind of had a say on some of these guys. You mentioned the rookies, picking Stromberg, Daniels, and then going and getting Wiley. You've got to think that he's got a plan in place, and I've heard a little bit about them kind of moving the pocket around. That kind of seems to be what Kansas City did really well. They didn't always set their guys up to just drop right back into pass protection. They kind of moved around a little bit and kind of set Patrick Mahomes up for some good spots to throw the football. And I have to imagine that with some of these guys that, you know, Nick Gates has played guard and center, and Sam Cosmi moving in from tackle to guard, and Wiley playing guard to tackle, that he's going to put them in the best spot available. He's not going to ask them to do things that they're not comfortable with, because obviously he needs a clean pocket for a quarterback who is inexperienced. And so while I'm still uncertain about the offensive line, I have to think, I'm kind of trusting in Eric Bieniemy that he's going to put them in spots, just like we're going to talk about the pass catchers and the quarterbacks and everybody on the offense. He's going to put everybody in the right spots. I have to imagine he's going to do the same thing with the offensive line.
Yeah, you have to think that he's a bit of a wild card, like you said earlier. He's that little bit of extra. What was that little TikTok trend going around where it was like, hey, when my spouse is cooking and they give them a hug, but they put a little extra spice in the pot because they know that they don't use enough seasoning. That's what the EB factor is right now. You have to think that his extra little pizzazz is going to help elevate this team. And so I went and looked at something. You talked about the offensive line keeping Sam Howell clean. 26 sacks. That's how many sacks they gave up in Kansas City. Now, you can go and say, and I know there's going to be people that are going to try to argue me down and say, oh, well, they had, this all-pro tackle here and, Orlando Brown. Whoever it is, I'm just going with the fact that this is the same offensive scheme. If you can get the quarterback to play up to that speed, 26 sacks is solid. That's not bad. They said their opponents had 55 that they had. So, when you're looking at it like that,
well, quick math, that's less than 2 a game, right? It seems like to me, yes, you've got Patrick Mahomes and we know what he can do, and Travis Kelce, but to me, it seems like Eric Bieniemy is probably getting the ball out pretty quick, and he's probably going to try to do the same thing for Sam Howell to not, like I was saying, put some of these offensive linemen on islands against some of the legit pass rushers in this league, but also legit pass rushers just in the NFC East alone. So, yeah, I think that is a stat that hopefully will translate. Obviously, the guys have to go out there and perform, but that is a good indicator.
It's a really good indicator. Now, quickly, he had to go and check to see what Washington had last year. 48 was the amount of sacks they get. Matter of fact, Carson Wentz was sacked 26 times last year.
Yeah, not good. And how many games did he start? Maybe 5, 6?
Yeah, let's see here. How many games did you start, Carson? Since I've got it up right here, 7 games. Okay, 7 games on 276 attempts. He got sacked 26 times. Okay,
that's almost 4 times a game. That shouldn't be hard to improve from. Let's just be honest. It's kind of like with the takeaways on defense. We think that this team should be able to get more, or I'm sorry, not takeaways, interceptions, specifically. We think this team should be able to improve from 9. Maybe they don't jump up to 15, 16, 17, but 11 or 12 could have changed a couple of games. Can you cut down a couple of those sacks and give your quarterback a couple more seconds to improve? I don't think that's too big of a jump to make.
It's really not. And a lot of it is continuity in the offense, understanding where you need to go with the football. And I've seen a lot of that in Sam in that one start. Like, he understands where to go with the football. And the fact that he was watching film on Kansas City as soon as he found out that Eric Bieniemy was going to be the guy leads me to believe that he's a little bit further down the line.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little bit further along in the progression than, you got to think about it like this. And we'll talk about this position later, but he's got to be ahead of Jacoby Brissett in the fact that he's had more time to watch the tape.
True.
Jacoby Brissett didn't sign at that time, right? So Jacoby had to wait until he got signed to get the look at the offense. And, that's just one thing to think about. You're looking at stats. This is from last year. Sam was sacked 3 times in that one game, so that was like 13% of the time. Taylor Heineke was at 6.8, and then Carson was 8.6% of the time. So, frankly, the offensive line itself needs to improve, and I think we both agree with that. And with a lot of these new pieces, a new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, hopefully all of those, and that's a lot of moving pieces to try to align, but that's where it's going to have to start.
Yeah.
There's no other way around it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot of moving pieces, but it also, I don't, I don't think it puts any pressure. I don't think it puts too much pressure on any one of those certain pieces. Obviously, the offensive line has got to go out there and perform, but the returning guys have to know, hey, we're going to be put probably in a better situation than we were last year. It's not all.
Yeah.
I don't think the offensive line played horribly. I mean, they had some good games. They cleared out some running lanes, and there were times when they were good. But I think that it's going to improve even more because of those other pieces, and it's hopefully going to take some of the pressure off of those guys too. So that's exciting to hear. I think just a little bit of improvement could go a long way for this offense being way better than they were last year.
Yeah, it's true. And I was beating the drum way back when. Everybody said, oh, they need a better quarterback. I said, they need better quarterback play.
Yeah.
They need better quarterback play. And I'll release that soon in my different breakdowns of Sam Howell and how he had good quarterback play against Dallas. And even though there's only 17 passes, but those are about 15 out of 17 were pretty good reps, fairly good reps that I can live with. I could live with if I was an offensive coordinator. But let's do this. Let's go. We're going to step back from the offensive line, not to the quarterback position just yet, but let's go about 7 yards into the backfield. Sometimes they'll be to the left or the right of the quarterback. We'll talk about the running back position.
Okay.
Running back position. You got a couple of incumbents in the building with Antonio Gibson. You got Brian Robinson coming into his second season after a strong rookie year, racking up 797 yards and 2 touchdowns. A lot of physical running. Remember the game against Atlanta where he caught the little swing pass and he just was looking like a bulldozer and just ran over that DB. That's the type of thing that I'm wanting to see from him. Also in that running back room, you've got Chris Rodriguez Jr. He just got signed. He just got drafted, I should say, out of Kentucky. He already felt the wrath of EB. EB put a little extra Tabasco on that behind and had to light him up early, and that's good. So you should see him rolling the training camp well. Obviously, Brian Robinson, Jarrett Patterson's down there, Jonathan Williams as well, and Alex Armah. Okay, so those guys are all in that running back room. And, the question I want to ask you is, what player do you expect to have and probably needs to have the fastest start coming into this season?
Yeah. I think Antonio Gibson has got to get off to a fast start in this group. I think that we have seen flashes of what he can do. I think we have seen bits and pieces of what he's capable of, and whether it's usage or not, or he wasn't a great fit and Scott Turner's off. It feels like I was always missing a little something from Antonio Gibson. I just feel like we haven't fully seen him put it all together. Again, we've seen spurts, but I think if there's anybody that's going to get something out of him, I think it's Eric Bieniemy, and I think that it's got to show soon because this is a guy that's potentially playing for a new contract, could be auditioning for not just the Commanders, but for every other team out there. I think it's really important that this guy be a huge part of what the offense is doing. And I think he can be, but I want to see him finally put it all together. And I think that is paramount. I really think, I think the wide receivers are the strong part of this offense, but I think the running backs are going to be so huge to what they're trying to do. And I think Antonio Gibson specifically should and could be that guy. Yeah,
I mean, you look at it, he had just under 900 yards, 899 yards from scrimmage last year, five total touchdowns. And, the one thing that people, I say to people, hell, he had them early. He only had one fumble last year. One fumble. So did a really good job with that, 79% catch percentage. And I think one of the biggest things that you get to consider, and I've seen it reported that EB told him, hey, I run your routes like a receiver. Go back to what you did in college. And you look at the way that J.D. McKissick was utilized. You look at just the way that EB is able to get people in unique positions to really take advantage of their skill set. If I'm Antonio Gibson, I got to be feeling good. I mean, this is lofty. This is a lofty comparison, but I want you all to envision when Christian McCaffrey got to San Francisco and the option routes out of the backfield. I haven't seen AG do a lot of those option routes. He got a few here and there, but I would like to think that he would be able to route up a linebacker.
Yeah.
He should be able to get open against somebody that's 250 some odd pounds when he's sitting at about 2.25. So, his usage is something that really needs to get going. The guy for me that I think needs to get off to a fast start is Brian Robinson Jr.
Okay.
Brian Robinson Jr. And it's not necessarily in a competition between AG, but it's more of it's going to set the tone for this team. I mean, you got to think teams are going to try to take away the run and force Sam Howell to pass. They're like, hey, you've got one game under your belt. You're not a rookie, but you kind of are. Let's bring the pressure. Let's put pressure on you. Let's make you get out of running situations and throw the ball. See how you handle that. That's what the best do in the NFL. They make you do your whatever you're not that good at. They make you lean that way. And Brian Robinson being able to set the tone and move the pile, get behind that offensive line, maybe making somebody miss in the backfield, that maybe if there was a missed assignment, maybe he had to do something extra to take up for what the offensive line misses. Him getting off to a fast start will set a tone and really make things go a little bit easier for this offense. And I don't necessarily, I've said it all the time, don't really care for the 2-to-1 ratio run to pass. But whenever you do run it, it needs to be 4.5 yards per touch, not the 3.9 that he had last year. Not that it was bad, but I would like to see him fall forward for another 1.5 yards.
Yeah, I told you there was a group that I was a little probably maybe lower on than most, and I it's the running backs for me, and I kind of mentioned it with Antonio Gibson. I feel like he leaves, there were glimpses, but it's never really consistent. Again, is that his fault? Is that usage? Is it what? I kind of feel the same way about Brian Robinson. I know that I know how his season started, and I know it was unfortunate. It's incredible that he was back out there, a month and a half later, or whatever it was. But I just feel like the running backs as a whole kind of left a lot to be desired. And I brought up, I tweeted it out, and it got some traction that when Dalvin Cook was released, I was like, I would love for the Commanders to go and get him. I don't think that they will. I don't know if it makes sense financially, but I think that they could upgrade at the running back position. And some people were kind of not snapping back at me, but they were kind of like, we have a solid running back room. And I was like, yeah, we do. Yeah, the Commanders do. But I feel like these guys are a couple of number 2 running backs. And there's not, not everybody is Christian McCaffrey. Not everybody is Jonathan Taylor. Not everybody is Derrick Henry. I get that. But I just felt like the running back room left a lot to be desired. And it felt like Brian Robinson a lot of times was good for those couple of yards, but I don't know if he's ever going to be a game breaker. And maybe that's not his role. And maybe Eric Bieniemy is going to utilize him more in, different ways and things like that. But I just felt like the running backs, I feel like they could have upgraded a little bit more. And Chris Rodriguez, I don't know what he's going to be. Hopefully he's a ball player, and hopefully he makes some noise, 2 down the line. They have a 3-headed monster, but I just feel like the running back room as a whole is a little underwhelming. What do you think about that? And I think that Eric Bieniemy, I think he's gonna get more out of them than we've seen. But B, I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like there's something missing there.
Well, my deal is, if you're looking for more out of the running back room, frankly, Eric Bieniemy's offense isn't the one for you. I mean, you go look at what Kansas City had. They only had 1,900 yards rushing as a team. Their leading rusher was Isaiah Pacheco. He had 830 yards across 11 starts and 17 games total. He averaged 4.9 per carry, though. Right? He had 5 touchdowns. He had added a little bit in the passing game. Jerick McKinnon ran for just under 300 yards, had 1 rushing touchdown. He had 500 yards receiving and 9 receiving touchdowns. So it's not going to be on the ground. I don't think a Dalvin Cook would be a good fit. He'd be a good player, but I think it forces you to go and try to do some things that you aren't trying to do identity-wise. You already said receiver is that strong suit. I don't want to have to try to share the ball with somebody else.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and that's a good point. And what was I? Maybe it's kind of like on the defense where, we have for a couple of years thought they needed to get another linebacker, that they needed to get another playmaker on the defense, and really the defense, that's not what they're set up for. And maybe it's a similar situation that, on offense, you're right. Eric Bieniemy is not going to pound the rock 25 times. That's just not what he's looking for at a running back. So maybe these guys are what he needs to do some enough running to keep the defense honest. But I just, I don't know. I was just kind of looking back at the running backs last year, and I just felt like I could get a little bit more. And maybe Eric Bieniemy is going to get a little bit more, like you said, out of the passing attack and kind of use them a little bit better. But I don't know. Maybe I'm talking in circles, but I just feel like there could be more from that running back spot.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. It's not necessarily the most. It's not the sexiest position. I mean, just names wise, I mean, Robinson had a good season last year. Especially the way it started. I mean, he's coming out and really just finishing just so well and putting up almost 800 yards. Like, that's a miraculous season. So you gotta look forward to what he's going to do across 17 games rather than just 12, and similar thing with Antonio Gibson. I think his usage is going to increase, even if it is running the ball as well. I think his size is going to help him run the ball as well. And maybe we will see them run the ball a little bit more, but get creative to it. So I'm looking forward to that creativity. But let's do this. Let's move over to the position that we both agree is the strongest. I think it's a miraculous position ranked in the league, really. They're going to go talk to those receivers, the guys like me, those route runners, those pass catchers. What are your thoughts about the receiver position? What are you really looking forward to? What a guy do you think is going to have the biggest breakout season?
Yeah, I think, kind of in the dead of summer, there are all these lists that are coming out, like who has the best position groups, who has the best roster overall. I really think that Washington at times last year was right up there with some of the best receiver groups. They had three guys that could catch the ball, that could run with the ball in their hands and make some plays in Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, and Jahan Dotson. I think if Jahan Dotson didn't, miss a big chunk, he would have been right up there with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave as one of the premier rookie wide receivers last year. And I expect him to take a huge jump, and I expect him to kind of I think everybody knows what Terry McLaurin is, and I think they're finally realizing and giving him the respect to his name. But I think Jahan Dotson is going to be making a name for himself, and he's going to take this group to the next level. I just think he's special. And I think when he was out on the field, the team was different. He was, for parts of the season, their best red zone threat, and that's pretty crazy from a guy that is not the biggest guy in the world. But you saw what he could do after the catch and run, the spin move against the Giants and the tie. He got some contested catch. He just does everything kind of like what Terry does. He's not a huge guy, but he goes up and gets the football. And I think he's going to be key. I think he might be the X factor on this offense to take them from pretty good, okay, to doing something really special. And I think that's Jahan Dotson. I think that's number one. And man, I'm excited to see him in a full season, hopefully pretty, healthy.
Yeah, Jahan is special. And watching the tape, you just see him flourish and just perform in multiple positions. He is versatile. He's a guy that can play inside and outside. You don't just peg him as a slot. He can play all the positions. He can put his foot on line of scrimmage as an X. He can, work in the slot against linebackers, nickels, anything like that. It gets loose in a phone booth. I mean, you can't touch him in a phone booth, man. It's insane to see his ability to create separation, go up for the ball, strong hands, 7 touchdowns last year, 523 yards on 35 receptions. Definitely expect to see that stuff go up, obviously, with a full season. And I think with Sam Howell that we talk about, his accuracy, Sam has a lot of accuracy. He's going to put the ball in the position for players to actually get a lot of run after the catch. You mentioned the spin move. There was that one, he had a slant against Dallas that he caught, and he took it for about 30 yards with his ability to kind of cut and dip and dodge and dip. And he can dodge a wrench. He can dodge a ball. He can dodge a tackler. Jahan Dotson is a special player. He really is a special player. And to not pick him for my breakout player, I'm gonna go with Terry McLaurin.
Okay.
I was going back and forth between Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin. I think Curtis is going to have a different type of season. his usage is going to be kind of similar to, I feel like it's going to be similar to Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
Right. Just, I feel like they're similar, just body types, the 190 some odd pounds or close to 200 versus 220. Big difference. Right. But I think it's Terry McLaurin. And I think it's time. I mean, he's had a very consistent career so far, consistently right around 1,100 yards, 900 yards. He's had umpteen different quarterbacks, but now I think he's getting into a situation to where he's made a commitment to stay with Washington. He's got a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator coming in to bring an offensive system that, frankly, had 5,200 yards passing. You got to be excited whenever you're on a team that had 3,700.
Right.
I'm not saying Sam Howell's going to throw for 5,000 yards, but
somewhere in between that is definitely doable.
Is definitely doable. I think he's going to get right around 4,000, maybe up to 4,500, just based on being able to have a much better system and understanding it. So Terry McLaurin, I think he takes that number. We asked on the previous episode, is Terry going to have over under 1,300? And I think I might have said under, simply because there's so many people out there. But shoot, I wouldn't be surprised if he had more than 1,300, 1,350, 1,400 yards receiving this year, and get close to that double digit, maybe have double digit touchdowns from Terry McLaurin, because I mean, he signed for the bag and he's going to go out there and perform. That's all he's ever done. Very workmanlike, and Terry McLaurin, he's going to have that breakout season this year.
Yeah, it's crazy to say a guy that, like you mentioned, who consistently goes for right around 1,000 to 1,100 yards, could then do even more, could break out even more. And I think we said it before that's those kind of games are the games that have been missing. The Tyreek Hill, 13 catches for 182 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, I feel like that kind of game could be coming for Terry McLaurin, especially in this offense, and I'm excited about it. Yeah, does his yardage dip a little bit because of Jahan Dotson kind of making strides? Maybe a little bit, but I still think that the numbers are going to be there, and I think that he's going to be the focal point of this offense, and I think he should be. And like I said, he's finally getting credit, across the league as one of these legit wide receivers, and it's going to be really fun to see him flourish in that. And you saw, the introductory press conference with Eric Bieniemy, and he went right up to him and he said how excited he was. And I believe that. And I believe he's got to be, like you said, licking his chops to go from, all these quarterbacks that he's played with to hopefully a guy in Sam Howell that can get him the ball and they can build a big rapport together. And yeah, I'm excited for both Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin. I think that's going to be, the sky is the limit with those guys.
I know he's got to be excited. I feel like this is a simple question, and if BetOnline is listening, you can put this on there. Terry McLaurin's career high receptions in a season is 87. That was in that 2020 year. He had 87 with 1,118 yards. You think he's going to get over 100, and let's say he gets over 115 receptions. Do you think he surpasses that number? I think getting over 100 is easy. Do you think he surpasses 115? It's like another 30. That's like another 30 receptions on his career high.
115 is a little rich for me. I think that there will be some targets taken away by Jahan Dotson. I do think he goes over 100, but maybe just under, maybe that in that 102, 103 range. I would love to see it though. I think the more that you target Terry McLaurin, the better your offense is going to be. And I think that Eric Bieniemy, I mean, we're not telling Eric Bieniemy something he doesn't already know. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I think 115, I think it's doable. Don't get me wrong, but I think that might be a little much for me, but just under.
Okay. Well, for what it's worth, for comparison's sake, Travis Kelce last season had 110 receptions, and last season Terry McLaurin had 77. He had 77 over the past 2 years. So he's very consistent in that 70 to, almost to 80 range. So 110 receptions was for Travis Kelce. Jerick McKinnon had 56. Juju Smith-Schuster had 78 over there. So, I could see Terry getting closer to 115. I could see Jahan's numbers going from 35 receptions, pushing up to maybe like 56 to 70, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And then Curtis Samuel, you could see their numbers going up. I mean, Curtis had, oh goodness, I lost it. I went to go see Terry's career high, but I can see those numbers going up simply for the fact that the guy is going to know how to spread the ball around. That EB effect, once again, I think all those things will be in play. The 115, that is a tough number though. Another 30 receptions, that's a lot.
Yeah,
But
so
I just go ahead.
Curtis Samuel, 64 catches last year. I don't see him getting that many. I mean,
Oh
I,
yeah,
I just think with a healthy, hopefully Jahan Dotson, that's just going to dip into that. Not that Curtis isn't a solid player, but I just think, like you said, I think the ball is going to be spread around a little bit more. And I
yeah,
really think Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson are going to be options 1A and 1B, and then Curtis Samuel will be below that, along with the tight ends, the running back sprinkled in there. I just think his numbers
yeah,
dip a little bit, and he might play the best football of his career in this offense,
yeah,
potentially. But I do think that we're going to see less numbers from Curtis Samuel. Not that he's the odd man out, but I just think
yeah,
that there are just a lot of mouths to feed on this offense, and if everything's
yeah.
humming the right way, I think that's a good problem to have.
Very true. And I was on Twitter the other day, and Big Doug doing one of his questions that he does throughout the day. He had asked who's the better receiver, Jahan Dotson or Curtis Samuel, and I said, give me Jahan, for the reasons I said previously. Just he's very electric with the ball and without the football. Makes a lot of things happen. But I didn't say that Curtis Samuel was a bad receiver, and
Right.
frankly, I think that his receptions will go down. I think the yards can go up a little bit. I mean, he had 656. I just think he's going to have opportunities to make more run after the catch this year. That's one thing that I think a lot of these receivers are going to be able to benefit from. And it's great to have at least a couple of those guys, Jahan and Curtis, are able to do that. Run with the ball after the catch. They're able to take the ball, a little 5-yard slant or under route and make a couple people miss and get 20, 30 yards.
Yeah. And then you mentioned, pass catchers, obviously the tight ends are in there. Hopefully Logan Thomas is rounding back into form, getting healthy. I know they really like Cole Turner, and he was banged up last year. So those are even more guys that could potentially dip into that. And that's not a bad problem. I mean, I think that, spreading the ball around, keeping defenses on their toes. Obviously, you want Terry McLaurin to fill up the stat sheet as your number one wide receiver. But, if you have other guys that can take the pressure off of him and kind of keep him in one-on-one coverage, you love that opportunity. And I think the tight ends will also be a sneaky kind of big role in this. We know what Travis Kelce did in Eric Bieniemy's offense. I don't think Logan Thomas is there, and that's no knock on him. I think Travis Kelce could end up being the best tight end in NFL history. But I think Logan Thomas is going to benefit off of it. All that to say that some of these numbers, like you said, are going to maybe go up and maybe go down, but that's not a bad thing. It's not necessarily an indicator of a guy playing better or in maybe in Curtis Samuel's case worse. I think it's just that there's a chance that there are going to be more contributors, which is hallelujah, a problem that this team hasn't had, a quote unquote problem this team hasn't had in a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And for comparison's sake, Logan had 39 receptions last year compared to Travis's 110. Travis was targeted more than double, 151 targets compared to Logan's 61 targets. Matter of fact, Logan and Jahan Dotson had the same amount of targets and very similar amount of receptions.
Yeah.
Okay. Jahan had 5,500 yards, 200 yards more than Logan did. So take that for what it is. And Logan had 13 games. Jahan had 12. So 14 and 12. So that's that. Go ahead.
And speaking of the tight ends real quick, there were games where both Logan Thomas and Cole Turner were not available. I'm honestly surprised that you said that Logan Thomas played in 13 games. It didn't feel like that last year. So hopefully that he's getting healthier. Hopefully, Cole Turner can stay healthy and those guys can be weapons as well. But the good thing is I think that they don't have to be superstars out there. I don't think they're expected to be Travis Kelce in this offense. I think they're just they're going to benefit from what Eric Bieniemy is doing. And that's just going to make Sam Howell better. That's going to make the offense better. That's going to make the running game better. That's going to make it better for the wide receiver. So I'm excited about what the tight ends can potentially bring to this. And we've seen all off season long. I think Ron Rivera's talked about it. They could have maybe gotten a tight end in the draft, but I think they got some guys that they really like. Armani Rogers going down really stinks, but I think they've got some guys that they're really confident in. And I think those guys can surprise some people and, get some wide open looks where you're not expecting it.
Yeah, I know that I'm excited to see what Cole Turner is able to do in this offense, and they should be inspired. I mean, they should be looking at Travis Kelce tape the whole time and just being like, "That's the play that he called yesterday. I'm going to try to run it this way," and just study it. I mean, you have the prototypical way that he's going to want these things to be done. Look that up, and I saw Travis Kelce said this in one of his tight end he was at a camp, and he said have your own melody, but make sure you're on time with the quarterback. And that's the perfect segue. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, obviously Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce have been playing together forever, and hopefully these guys will get there with Sam Howell. But I think Travis Kelce does such a good job of finding like an open spot. Like I think he has like some choice routes that he can run. So if there's no linebacker right there, he's just going to stop, turn around, and be open. And that's he makes it look easy, obviously, but I think that these tight ends can benefit from that too. If they see an open spot, go stand there and let Sam Howell find you. You know what I mean? So I think that everybody's going to benefit from what Eric Bieniemy is trying to do.
Yep, you really have to master the offense before you can get to that point there. You have to study it early, and that's what Sam Howell has done. And let's go talk about that quarterback room. I mean, there's two people that are pretty much in the discussion for playing. And frankly, if anybody else is in there playing, then probably thinking about the draft. If Tim DeMorat is in there, Jake Fromm is in there, and you're probably looking a little bit further down the line. No disrespect to those guys, but shoot, that would divert from what was all of the offensive plans for this organization.
I will say real quick, please. I hope. Good for those guys for being in the league, but they are in a bad spot if any of them see the field. But I'm fairly certain I looked at this towards the end of the season when we saw that Sam Howell was going to start in week 18. I think that made 5 straight years that Washington had at least 3 quarterbacks start a game. Put an end to that streak right now, 2023. No, we don't need to see 3-4 quarterbacks out there on the field at all. Whatever happens with Sam Howell, I hope he's the guy. But if not, and Jacoby Brissett has to step in, 1 or 2 is fine. No more 3 quarterbacks, please. Let's put an end to that streak right now.
Yeah, we don't need to have a little spinning wheel of like who's going to start.
Yeah, it's not a pitching rotation. You know what I mean? Like we just need 1 or 2 guys. That's it.
Absolutely. You talk about 1 or 2 guys. My question for you, let me ask you this. Do you think that we see Jacoby Brissett this year?
I think, bet online. We love those guys. If I was betting, I would take the safe bet and say yes. I think that there would be times that he's out there that he might have to make a spot start. I'm hoping that we don't. I hope that Sam Howell takes it and runs with it, has a full 17-game schedule under his belt, and maybe the only time we see Jacoby Brissett is for a sneak on 4th down because he's a big guy. But the safe bet would be that we do see him, whether it be Sam Howell nicked up or just he hits a cold spell or something like that. I think the safe money is that we see Jacoby Brissett, but I hope that we don't.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think you're going to see him, though. I'm going to lean with the fact that Sam Howell's going to hold this thing down. I'll give you one caveat that, I'm going to say 99%, 98.5, Sam Howell's going to do this thing the whole entire year. If you do see him, it would be maybe he has a little shaky game and they have to get the old vet in there to kind of steady the ship and finish it out. But then from what I've seen, just a little bit of tape I've seen on Sam, he's going to bounce back from those things. He doesn't repeat a lot of mistakes often. So I would expect him to limit mistakes and still find a way to have a good trajectory. I mean, all the guys that we talked about today, he has plenty of weapons to get the ball to. He didn't have to go out there and make, plays like Aaron Rodgers or do just absolutely, stupendous acts of just athleticism. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to be Lamar Jackson. He didn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. He didn't have to do no-look passes. He just has to go out there and run the offense as it's done. And I think that he's going to make good plays and be sound all year. He's going to give you some bumps. I mean, you've seen Chris Russell report on that. I mean, and hell, he's a guy that had 1 start. So there's going to be some frustrating points. But I'd rather it be a 22, 23-year-old kid having a bump on his head rather than spending, plenty of money to get a 30, 34, 35-year-old quarterback who could potentially go out there and do the same thing. So I think Sam's going to be okay. I think he's going to have a good season. He has a lot of good attributes to him that, we're going to translate well to success this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm with you. I think even if it does get a little bit shaky and Jacoby Brissett's got to step in there, I think we saw last year that, Sam Howell had in that last game, Sam Howell had the touchdown and then he threw an interception. Well, after that, he played pretty well. I think I saw somewhere that he went like 8 for 13 after the interception and then had a rushing touchdown. So it shows – Again, one game. I feel like we have to put that asterisk there. We know it's one game. We're not expecting this guy to be Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. We know it's one game. We know there's a lot for him to learn. But in that one game, it would have been so easy for him to throw another pick, to drop some passes, to fumble, a bunch of times. But instead, he follows it up. He completed most of his passes afterwards, and he had a rushing touchdown. Plus, he put him in, a couple of positions where they miss a field goal, they hit another field goal. So he was moving the offensive along. That gives me hope that this guy is going to rebound off of, any bit of adversity that he sees. It's not going to keep him down. He's going to rebound and learn from it. And I think that's what we're hearing this summer, and that's really encouraging.
It's the truth. That's 100% the truth. The interception was an ugly, ugly play by him. He locked down on Cam Sims frankly the whole way. I didn't like what was going on with the Terry's route on the front side. So it wasn't a good play overall. But he did bounce back from that. There was a play early in the game where he had kept it a little bit too long on a boot, and he tried to run, and then Micah Parsons ran him down. It was like 5 Cowboys were around him right in the red zone. It could have been a bad play. But then later on in the game, he saw an opening. He took off quickly. He's thrown the ball away. He's made good decisions with the football, ones that are going to make you feel confident that, hey, he's not going to mess it up, but he has the ability to make some big throws. And you got to be excited for this. I think the guys that are going to be able to line up with him are excited. You've heard it from everybody in the media. You've heard it from Jahan. You've heard it from Terry. Multiple players, offensive linemen, are just sitting there saying, like, Sam Howell's really come in here and has taken the bull by the horns. I think that's been the quote from a couple of guys. So, shoot, Sam Howell, man. Everything's set up for him to have some success. And I think he's going to take this opportunity and run with it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's up to him. But again, it kind of goes back to the offensive line. Yes, they have to go out there and perform. Yes, Sam Howell has to go out there and run the offense well. But I think the pressure is being taken off a little bit, A, with Eric Bieniemy, but B, with all the veterans that he has around him. Yes, the pressure is there, but I think you almost have to readjust your pressure meter, because I don't think that they're going to put him in a whole lot of situations. I don't expect, at least not early on, that he's going to be stepping back and chucking the ball around 30 times a game. He's got those running backs. He's got, some wide receivers that can take the ball and run with it. I think that they're going to ease him into it while at the same time letting him take full control. And that's all you can ask for as a quarterback, all you can ask for as a fan. And I'm excited to see what happens here. Maybe I'm being a homer, maybe I'm being too overly optimistic, but I think that what we've seen from this offense, or what we've not seen from this offense over the last couple of years, this gets me really excited. And I think that some big things could happen.
Definitely can. You got to have that positivity. There's nothing wrong with walking around with a little extra positivity in your pocket, man. So keep that up, and definitely this organization can use it.
I was gonna say my mom, and she's a Cowboys fan. God love her. I still accept her. I still love her, and she supports me. But she always says, there's no reason to not get your hope up. You know what I mean? You're gonna be. You might as well go into that week 1 game against the Cardinals hoping that Sam Howell is going to throw 4 touchdowns. You're going to be disappointed if he doesn't anyway. So you might as well hope for the best. You know what I mean? So you're going to be disappointed if he doesn't. So you might as well just assume the guy's going to throw 5 touchdowns each game.
I'm going into that thing with full-fledged positivity that Sam Howell's going to have a hell of a day. Now, I know that, 5 touchdowns in a week 1 opening game against the Cardinals would be miraculous. It would be the best thing since sliced bread. Now, I also know that that's not going to be the same performance throughout the year, right? I've been about it like this. I want to see some growth. It's going to be some growth, and you're going to have some success with the team for sure. But we got to get this thing rolling. Oh, there was one position that I think that we didn't talk about. It was special teams, kicker and punter. Are those any question marks there? The punter position, I think we got a pretty good one in Tress Way.
Top-notch guy. Yeah, he's legit. We have an all-pro on the special teams and Jeremy Reeves, who's back, who just does everything right and does everything well. So love that. Kicker, Joey Sly has been a little inconsistent. I think that he did have some big kicks. He's got a strong leg. I think he just needs to get the jitters out of the way sometimes. But if there is some competition, I think that it would be at kicker. But right now, I think you feel pretty okay with the guys that you got there.
Yeah, and if this offense has any success, if any of these guys that we spoke about today are doing their job, getting in the end zone, he should be kicking more extra points anyways.
That's right. Well, I will say it'll be interesting to do with it. It'll be interesting. Gosh, my words all over the place. It'll be interesting to see who the returners are. Can Kaz Allen, an undrafted guy, come in and make an impact? We know Antonio Gibson has returned kicks in the past. What do they do there, and can they get anything out of those guys? Potentially, making something happen on the special teams return game. I know the NFL seems to be wanting to take away the return game altogether, but can Washington find somebody that can maybe flip the field for them every now and then?
If you can, that's really going to be a great way to set up the offense to be in good position and drive the field. If you can get a first down on special teams, it means gaining 10 yards or more. That's really going to help your team's success. But let's get up out of here, man. Let's break this thing down. Thanks to the folks over there at Bet Online. If you haven't checked them out, make sure you do that. They're our sponsor. Our code is BLEAV. Get yourself a 50% welcome bonus.
That's right. Go in there, put in our code. You'll get 50% back. You put in 100, you get $50 right back, but just on your first time. So go use that. We appreciate those guys. We'll as we get into the season, we'll do picks and all that and look at odds and all that. We love doing that, and they do a great job at Bet Online. And then don't forget, you can find us all over the place and tune in, Sirius, Stadium, all your favorite streaming platforms. The show gets posted to YouTube, so you can check us all over the place. And then AAA, tell them where they can follow us as well.
On your favorite social media platforms, on Twitter, the TikTok, and got a little Instagram going as well. So those are the spots that you can come check us out. Get into the conversation over there on Twitter. I try to hop on the Twitter about once a day, give my little tweet feed, especially since I guess I can only see about 600 or something. I don't know. There's so many that I can see. Yeah. Don't ban me, Elon. It's all good.
Yeah.
But hey, folks, we appreciate y'all hanging out with us and tuning in for this episode. This offensive focus, y'all. We're about a month away from training, at least from school starting. But training camp is soon after, and I might be in at training camp one day. So I'd love to report live from there in the hot and humid Ashburn, Virginia. But look, let's get up out of here. We're gonna break this thing down. For Brian Murphy, I'm Anthony Armstrong. This has been another episode of the Believe in Commander Show. We'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all set the standard and be safe.
Be good.